Hey everyone, welcome to Ep.2 of the Flower Farm podcast. In today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit more on the mental side of things. So balancing their life and hobby. So Lorcana, managing expectations at a tournament, dealing with disappointing results, and just like overall, like growing from losing, like how to improve, like the mentality of improving. So I have a very good friend of mine, LD, with me today. Would you like to introduce yourselves to the people that don't know who you are?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, thank you for having me. And yeah, it's a real privilege to be part of an early episode of the Flower Farm podcast. I maintain and tell people whenever the opportunity comes up that the Flower Farm is pretty much the best place to discuss this game and one of the best places and resources to learn. So really proud to be an invited member and to get to do something like this. So yeah, thank you very much for that. Yeah, for people that don't know me, my name is Steve. I go by the username LD online. I've been playing Lorcana since the very beginning of the game, and kind of initially made my name sort of got out there through Pixelborn grinding, that sort of thing, with yourself and a bunch of others. And then since then, I've gone on to I'm the host, one of the hosts of the Articast, the podcast that I do weekly. We're now back on. Myself and Artabax do that together. And a very recent development, I'm now doing some casting. So I just before Christmas did my first casting job at the CCQ in Wakefield in the UK. And unconfirmed, I'm waiting for terms, but there should be more coming soon. I've been offered further opportunities, so somebody must have liked what they heard, but that was very cool. So yeah, kind of like a jack of all trades. But yeah, I've been around in this game for a hot minute, and I've seen some things, and I have some thoughts on the topic that you've got lined up for today.
Yeah, well, exciting times for sure. Ahead for the game and also for yourself. I'm super happy for all that the opportunities coming your way for sure.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's been a very, very sort of humbling experience because I'm sure we'll get into this a bit more as we explore some of the topics, but really some of the most impactful things that have happened to me through this game, it's all linked to the people that I've met, like yourself and a lot of the people who are kind of like my day ones that we did sort of we've kind of branched out and done different things. Some of us are like focused on playing. Some people are more primarily content creators. But I think we've done a really good job of lifting each other up, and different people are experiencing different forms of success, and it's just awesome to see. So yeah, super happy with how it's all gone, and feel very, very privileged to be given the opportunities. But then, as my wife always tells me, that I did work for it, so it's kind of I also just feel like a little bit proud of myself as well. So yeah, I don't try not to attribute it all to luck, but yeah, it's going well, which is
for
good.
sure, for sure. So like, I've known you for I think at least online for like 2.5 years now. I think that's when we started playing each other online, and it's 2.5 years is quite a long time playing the same game. Right? There's a lot of people that have come and gone. So like, how do you balance your life? Because you also recently got married. I have kids, 2 kids. So like, how do you balance life and this hobby? Because like, it does take time.
Yeah, completely. So this isn't an easy thing to replicate, but one of the things that helps me most is that my day job is super flexible. So I work at a marketing agency. Well, I say work at, it's like one of the sort of when I joined, we were a very small team, and then I've kind of grown with the organization, and now sort of part run the company. But my day to day responsibilities are primarily copywriting. I write content for our clients and come up with content strategy ideas for them, which is very flexible because a lot of my clients are in the States. So I'm not really bound by regular office hours, which means a lot of the time, if I want to practice online, if I want to take my head out of the job for a moment to think about the game, I completely can. I'm working from home. I'm not bound by a physical workplace where I can't think about the game or practice. So that's like a major privilege, is having that flexibility that enables me to do it, because it means that often, if a work day has gone very well and been very productive for me, I've squeezed in 2 to 3 hours of gameplay in my regular within my work day, which is a fantastic result, because it means that the end of the day comes and I shut my laptop and return to normal life. I don't think, okay, time to now practice games. I can actually like do some of my other responsibilities in life, like cleaning dishes and being present with my partner and stuff like that. So it's kind of
Yeah.
I would massively say that if you like, step one is find a job you're really good at and do it for 14 years like I have, so that you can do things quickly, and then work from home where nobody can see that you're practicing Lorcana. So that's like a very candid sort of act. That's what's really going on. That's how all of this happened. That's how, like, in the early days of Pixelborn and stuff, like, that's why I had more ladder points than everyone. I just put in higher volume. It was volume of games. The win rates weren't bad, but I was a volume player, and I continue to be to this day.
For sure, for sure. Like with playing so much, don't you find that like sometimes you get burnt out?
Absolutely. The last few months, really, that's kind of come to a head, and I felt it more acutely than I have before. Generally, burnout to me is so linked to the variety of tools and strategies in the game that feel viable. I didn't play the most games I've ever played, like in the last two formats, but I did feel the most burnt out. I've played numerous games in old formats where I felt like I'm kind of tired of this, but when something comes along that I'm not enjoying, or like there's a deck that I'm really struggling against, I do feel like there are tools available for me to like tweak my own decks, come up with some different ideas, and attack the format in a different way. I felt a lot more burnt out recently because those options just haven't felt like they're there. In that, it's kind of a complaint that a lot of people have had post Fabled. It's feeling like, you know, it got better in Whispers for sure, but certainly in that Fabled format, I was kind of like, I know what is possible, and none of it feels good to me. I could tell you objectively what's good. I don't want to do any of it, and that's like the essence of burnout. Is
Right.
I have this. Like, it's not for lack of knowledge or lack of feeling like I could win games if I wanted to. It's just what's there was not engaging to me, and that, yeah, definitely led to some burnout for sure.
Right. So like, cause like for those who don't know, way back in the day, LD, if you ever played him online, he would have a different deck every single time you run into him. Right. And like, so like, I guess like what you're kind of getting at is like with rotation, there was, I guess, not very many viable cards or decks to begin with. So that you couldn't even attack the format in that sense. Like we have a running joke where like your whatever deck you play is always 20% into Steel Song.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And that really, yeah, that was my. You're the first person in the world to ever observe that, and like I felt like you must have been keeping notes on like all of my crash outs in Discord, because it was all just like clockwork every couple of weeks or something, just a huge wall of text about the nature of Steel Song and why it was the worst thing to ever happen to the game. Because I exclusively played decks full of like X2s that completely died to a storm.
Right.
And it was just, yeah, that was like my hallmark, was building decks that were like 80% into red purple or something and died flat out to Steel Song every single time.
Right. But then you were okay with that. But then it was different compared to post Fable format because you couldn't even do that. Right.
Yeah, there wasn't. I couldn't build decks that felt that polarized. Even I couldn't. It was more that I would, I wasn't playing these decks that were 20% into Steel Song because I like being 20% into Steel Song. I was doing it because I liked being 80% into red purple. Right. So
for sure.
That if there was a deck that, let's say in the Fabled format, I could build that was 80% into Blurple, and I accepted some sort of like 20% Dogs or Amber Steel aggro matchup, I would have probably taken that deal. But didn't feel capable of building something 80% into Blurple and Purple Steel. That just didn't feel achievable. Sort of the raw power of some of the characters had kind of exceeded the tools, and it was just post-rotation is what, I've played card games for a long time. Like, the concept of rotation is not new to me. I understand that things will be taken away, but some of the things that left were like particularly frustrating. Like, I'm looking at a genie on turn 3 every game, and I'm thinking like, why don't I have Brawl? Like, Brawl is such a reasonable card to exist, and
Where's
to just
Kit?
take out genie. Like, why can I not Brawl? Kit is like questionable, because I will admit like Kit was like a very good card, but I don't know, something like Brawl to me, people disagree with this take, but I think it's like so evergreen that it just really made me quite irritated. Like, please give me something that like just answers a genie reasonably on curve, and it wasn't really around. So it's that lack of tools that leads to the burnout for me.
Oh, for sure. Like I think a lot of people that are listening now probably can resonate with that and feel the same way.
Mm,
Like
it
even
seems like
myself,
a lot of
like
people do.
yeah, for sure. Because like yeah, like I play a lot of Blurple. That was one of my decks
Yeah.
that people know me for, and Purple Steel. Like it is literally my format. But like it doesn't change the fact that I didn't get bored of it either. Like, do I want to play mirrors all day? Do I just want to
Mm,
play against myself all day? Not really. Like enjoyed so I enjoyed formats that had more viable decks. So it's like one of like the I think one of my fondest memories of you playing was like set 3 green purple,
yep.
right? And that was like one of your probably if not the most favorite format.
Yeah. One of.
Yeah, one of.
But maybe this
Yeah.
is something that we'll get into with some of the other aspects of this topic. But it's to me, it's my favorite. I couldn't just straight up say it's like my favorite format, but it's my favorite time. Like that was a great time. The combination of the format was good. People were having a good time. I was making a lot of like cool friends. Just like that will always be a very nice moment in my memory. That I was having a lot of fun then. Basically, regardless of how the format was, I was probably maxed out on fun.
For sure. That was probably one of my favorite formats to play too. But going back to the point, like yes, even though like my decks were the best, like you saw me on Twitter. I'm just like, well, how do you beat Blurple? And I start posting
Yep.
things to beat Blurple, right? Because like it's like I don't want like I want my deck to be strong, but at the same time, I don't want it to be the best deck where everyone plays it. That's not where I enjoy being,
Yeah, and
right?
and that's one of the reasons why you and I have always kind of had one of the areas where we've had a really similar mindset. And I think like I can't remember when it was. It was some time ago in some Discord conversation where I kind of like connected the dots. And I was like, are we all just trying to do the same thing? We all want a tier 1.5 pet deck that we secretly believe is the best deck in the format, but nobody else believes it or plays it, and only we play it, and it's like
Yes,
75% into what people think is the best deck. Everyone's trying
yes,
to occupy that space. That was where you lived 100%. And then I remember when rotation happened, and kind of like so as a content creator, I get sent like a early press. I like get I get a box of each set basically, plus like one of
hmm
each product. And sometimes they come very early on in the spoiler season, and I've often
hmm
opened packs before the full set is spoiled. I opened a box of Fabled very early on in its reveal season. I couldn't talk about it or show anyone because it's under embargo, but it was super early, and I saw like basically the extent of what Blurple would be laid out in front of me, and I start
yeah.
sending you cryptic messages where I don't reveal any NDA'd information, but start to just sort of like insult you and say you're the worst person. This you're about to become my. This is now the era where we're enemies. Like this is like true. It looked so. It was like so cut and dry. Like you review the card pool and it's like, how do you beat Blurple? It was just so instantly
hmm
clear. It was
hmm
really interesting, weird little time for the game, but
Right,
still found ways to have fun,
right. I mean, it's yeah, for sure. I mean, it's interesting you bring that up. So, like, being a content creator or a more well-known person in the community, like, I'm sure that comes with a lot of pressure as well, especially when you go to DLCs or just even showing up to
Mm.
locals, perhaps, right? Like,
Yeah,
how is that?
totally, completely. And it's one of the things I found most surprising was this is something that a lot of people probably identify with in card games. You play TCGs, people, it's a hobby people tend to have for a long time, and for some people, it can take a really, really long time before they have a breakout performance in any game.
hmm
You
hmm
might be a player like me who has like 10 years of casual to semi-competitive MTG, other games in and out, competitive Hearthstone, and then the breakout came with Lorcana. It just seemed to gel with the way I thought about games.
Right.
Um, you spend most of your life trying to have that breakthrough and thinking, just looking, it's with your goal really clear. You understand where you want to be. Um, And once you achieve that and you have some sort of like publicly visible high performance, and there starts to be a general perception that you are a good player, I found that really, really jarring, and I wasn't prepared for it at all. I had kind of, I don't know what I expected it would be like, but I found it very uncomfortable to walk into a room and have people be like, "That guy's good," and then when you lose to them, because you know, if you have like a 75% win rate, you lose 25% of your games, right? So
Yeah.
you do
Yeah,
lose
for sure.
games. You
Yeah.
lose some games, and then even though like I totally get where this comes from, and I'm not like bemoaning it at all, have seeing your opponent run over to their friends excited that they beat you is like, you really have to swallow your pride in that moment. And
Yeah.
I had to go through this. I had to go through this learning process of realizing, look, now within this game, like there will be people I play where beating me represents like a significant achievement for them, and I have to think, I have to focus on that. Me being present creates that happy moment for them, rather than me thinking, this guy is openly celebrating beating me. Like I can watch this happening. I can hear everything he's saying, and it is killing me inside to hear. And that was a really like interesting process to go through. I never thought I would have to kind of. I wasn't prepped for it at all. Yeah, the first few times it happened, it really took me by surprise how bad it made me feel, and had to kind of move on from that and learn how to deal with it.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's like it's really interesting, right? Because like you said, you played a lot of games in the past.
Mm,
Especially like come play Hearthstone, for example. Like when you play online, you play someone who is a notable name, and they can't see you obviously when you're playing,
yep.
but you beat them, and you know exactly how the person that beat you feels, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Completely.
it's a little,
Yeah.
it's weird, right?
Yeah. So it's one of those things where once the roles are flipped and suddenly you find yourself as the person who is like the current king of the hill, you immediately forget what it was like to be the person trying to break through, and you can't like I in theory, I spent so long trying to beat the sort of local grinders that were super good, and having mixed success against them. You would think that once you're the one in that position, you'd be able to look at the people who were coming up and think purely positively, like, hey, come on, this is awesome, I'm so happy you beat me, let's now talk about the game and everything. But instead it just sort of hurt. And I was like, what, I can lose? I'm not meant to lose in
Yeah,
this game. No. And
yeah,
then
exactly.
yeah, it is a really I think like lately I've become so much better at it because I have taken the time to, these are things I've thought about a long time. I've thought quite long and hard about some of the things that I've enjoyed less about the experience of playing this game, and that's one of them. And yeah, I'm coming round to really thinking like, I now understand that no one wears the crown forever. It's just your turn with the crown, and that's part and parcel of what we do. Like we compete for the validation of winning, but like you can't then expect to never lose. Like you're going to lose. The progress is not purely linear. It's not like I won a big tournament, I will now proceed to win every big tournament.
If
Unless
only it
you're
worked that way.
DKP. Yeah. DKP seems to do a pretty good job of it, but aside from that, it doesn't happen.
Right, right, right. So like that, like, because that leads like into our next topic really well. So like managing expectations and just like
Mm,
overall like dealing with disappointing results, because like we had conversations together before in
mm,
Discord where, especially in season one, like um leading up to EU Continentals, you didn't have the best performance overall the DLCs,
no.
and right, and you managed to just literally slip in a DLC queue, right?
Yeah.
So like, right, so like, how did you like deal with that, and how did you manage all that? Because like being the big name, you show up to the event, you miss Top Cut, and then it's just like, man, maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was because I
Yeah.
can't even win. But everyone like, and I have all these people looking up to you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so one of the things that really helped me maintain a positive mindset through season one was that was keeping myself focused on like how hard it really was to convert in those two game format DLCs. I was very disappointed to have not done it, but I zoomed out and like just looking critically at it, it was a very, very tough format to. So full credit to the people that did. You know, we always say with tournaments of that size that you do have to be both lucky and good. It's not as simple as you sucked, you didn't make it. Many players didn't have breakout performances. Many players that I had and have deep respect for didn't quite get there. And there's a really good general lesson there, which is like, hold yourself to the same standard that you hold others to. People are really so bad at that in general. We're so much harder on ourselves than we are on other people, like in general. So I would look at players. So that's like Dave that you spoke to last week. You spoke to in your first episode. He didn't have a breakout performance in season 1. He's a player that very much was deserving of it. I would never, in conversations with him, I wasn't secretly thinking, you didn't do this, you're no good at the game. I have the utmost respect for him, and I appreciate he's super good.
Yeah.
So why would I not treat
Exactly.
myself the same way, you know? So, yeah, learning to kind of just realizing no one is really keeping tabs on my performance, only I am. And as long as I'm happy with my progress, I'm maintaining positive win rates, there are other metrics to success for me as well, like continuing to brew interesting decks that people find semi-cool and find new ways to experience the game. But yeah, the biggest thing for sure is just hold other people to the same standard that hold yourself to the same standard that you hold other people to. Because once you do that, the pressure kind of lifts a bit, because you realize like, no one cares so much if you don't break through, but you just keep trying. Like you keep going until that does happen. And that was the sort of story of my season 1.
Right. And then, for those who don't know, you showed up at the LCQ, and then you went 5-0 and you made it to the next day for Continentals.
Yeah, and then I got this the day after that.
Yeah.
so it's a good camera angle for this topic. Was able to make it through the LCQ, which is that's an easier invite. I think that it's an easier invite than qualifying through the DLC. So it was with that format. You couldn't take a single loss, or it's pretty unforgiving. It was quite a big dive for me to book that ticket to Paris, knowing that I could turn up and play exactly one game of Lorcana before going home. That would have been you've got to commit. But no, the story of that weekend was really, that was like the full power of friendship type story. That was the first time I'd spent prolonged period of time with Artabax. We had refined the deck we were going to play together, and we specifically felt like we've got a deck, it's very good, and it's specifically really good into the deck that other people think is the best deck. I don't think Green Purple was like the best deck, but the way it was built, like it beat Red Blue in that format, and the French teams were all over Red Blue. There was a massive representation there, and yeah, it just so happened that it was the right time for that deck to kind of pop off, and we were very invested in the deck. So yeah, right place, right time. I think that's kind of one of the things that should keep people going if they are grinding. Like I said before, you have to be both lucky and good, but luck doesn't just mean like win your dice rolls. There will be times when your play style is naturally like lends itself to a tier 1 strategy. The way the kind of decks you like, everybody sort of, you wait long enough, observe these games long enough, analyze enough metagames, eventually everything gets a go at the top. And the thing that most gels with you will, at the right time, be really good. And then that's when you strike, and that's when people tend to get their big breakout performances. So yeah, just staying the course, trust the process, and believe that if you play enough Green Purple, eventually it will be really good on the right weekend.
Yeah, for sure. Because like, I think that's like a very good lesson for everyone. Because like, I tell this to my students too. So you go to a tournament, like you showed to tournament to DLC back in season 1. You didn't perform, right? You didn't let that deter you, right? You didn't just go full crash out. I suck. I'm gonna quit this game. Right? Yada. You stay on the course. You analyzed. You kept practicing. You kept training, right? You kept working on your craft. And I think that's like a very huge point. I think maybe that's also to your point earlier that like people are very hard on themselves. At the same time, people are very unwilling to look at themselves in the mirror and realize like they need to get better, right?
Yeah,
Because
sure.
everyone thinks they're good, right? I get it. We're human. Like we all think we're good, right? But like it's hard to face reality sometimes too.
Yeah, completely. It's first of all, it's very, very hard to. You don't know what you don't know, which is one of the biggest challenges with becoming better at anything in life. If you, it's tough to analyze your own performance. It's much more helpful if you have close friends or a coach that can help you. Specifically, a coach is extremely useful. A third party that can look at your play patterns and think, you could tighten up here. Because if you're doing these things instinctively and that is like just the way you're thinking about the game, how could you possibly know it's wrong?
You
You
don't
need
know.
somebody else to tell you that it's wrong, or that there are more optimal ways to do that a lot of the time. So yeah, working with other people is super important, and getting those extra perspectives so that you can find the ways that you're like you often don't know what's missing, and that's one of the root causes of massive frustration amongst like this sort of. It's hard for me to like. I don't want to describe any groups of players negatively. There are a large number of players who are very, very good, and to me, I would call them dedicated grinders that are like constantly on the brink of making that breakthrough, but they are not quite there. And they are exactly the level of player that needs that extra perspective on their play to level up a little bit, because they're just good enough to have frequent confirmation that they're good. They're winning set champs. They are maintaining decent win rates. Evidence is pointing to them being good, and they believe that, but not quite good enough to get to the level they want to achieve. And that is typically because something's going on in your play or your decision making that you're not spotting, because you're getting positive reinforcement and you need some extra perspective to tighten up.
For sure. For sure. Like you said, like people can always tighten up their gameplay. And I believe that like even if you're at the top, there's always room to grow and to improve. And that's like the key, right? The mindset to have if you want to truly be good is that you always need to be analyzing, not others, just your own gameplay too, because we're human, we're all creatures of habit, and we all fall into patterns, right? And most of the time you don't even realize that you're actually falling into these patterns, right? And like if no one calls you out, like you said, a third party, a coach, whatever it might be, it's just like, hey, do you know you're doing that all the time and that's causing you to lose? Right? People
Yeah.
don't know, people don't realize.
No, they don't. And it's so easy, especially with a game like Lorcana that does have, you know, very consistent altering phase that means that a lot of your lines are similar, so a lot of your games in the early turns can feel similar. You don't have to play a very high volume of games before things start to feel samey and you start to go on autopilot with some of these decisions. I know I do this, I mulligan for XYZ, and then before you know it, you've like are making some sort of poor decision every single game without questioning it. It becomes like an ingrained part of how you approach a matchup or something, and no one is telling you, hey, this isn't why are you doing this? I've done it so
Right.
many times where I'm playing like more aggressive like dock curve out decks, and I just play so unbelievably recklessly, like the game's about to end, and I should be so much more conservative, and people are like, why are you doing this? Why you're questing like so much more. You're thinking like one turn in advance, but you then lose the game in 3 turns. I'm like, I just don't know. Like I sleeve up a dock and I proceed to lose games. Like it's just, like, that's just what I do.
Yeah, because like I believe, yeah, like you said, like Lorcana is like very linear in that sense where the alter phase it's like hyper consistent. Like every deck is like so consistent. And that's also like a downfall for a lot of people because
Yeah.
where you can actually improve, I find a lot in this game, is when you analyze your inking decisions, is that people will often ink something 3 turns earlier, and then 3 turns later, they're like, shoot, I actually needed that card, right? And I think that is really one of the harder things to grasp in this game for people, or it's us too, right? It's just like having that
Yeah.
foresight,
Anyone.
thinking ahead, right? Planning your turns ahead. Like, yes, I can curve out Basil into ramp Genie Elsa. I can, But what if I had more uninkables in my hand? What if I draw another uninkable, right? Can I still do that? Or do I have to end up making Elsa and I can't do that anymore? Things like that, right? So I think, yeah, I think that's like, if people, for everyone watching, like that's one thing. If you're not doing, I highly suggest you do, is really analyze what you're inking, because you can automatically just win games because of what you inked, or even keeping track of what your opponent's inking.
Yeah, completely. And it's one of those things, like in that situation you've just described. If I'm going second and my opponent opens Ink Basil Pass, I'm like, whoa, 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 this person has engaged their brain. They're thinking critically that they might not need this Basil in play. They're actually thinking, they're not going for a flat out, curve out, dump their hand. Like this, it demonstrates critical thinking to me and makes me much more scared than actually facing the turn one Basil. So it's just, it does. I think you're completely spot on with that, and it's so much easier to lose games through your inking decisions than most people realize. You can
100%.
You get yourself into positions in a game, like you say, where you're constantly thinking, and you hear players do it all the time. They're like, if only I drew this, I would have got out of that situation. Then it turns out that like 4 turns earlier they inked that. Like,
yeah, you inked a Mona in turn 1 when you had other things to ink.
This. The world could have been yours. You were holding it in your hand and you let it go. But it's it's one of the questions I find most frustrating because of the complexity of answering it is like when I've published deck lists or videos talking about decks in the past, and people have messaged me and said, what should I ink? Like, it's incredibly frustrating. It's like I want to like write an essay, but in general I just say something to the extent of that is such a tough question that I couldn't possibly give you an answer without like putting a day into writing it, because it's like completely, every decision is incredibly nuanced based on matchup and situation. But that is really one of the areas that truly distinguishes like a great player from a good one, is how well you make those decisions. And I'm not saying that in saying that I do it. Like, I make those mistakes all the time, and it's 100% the area I could improve in most.
Right, for sure. Like a good example is when Dave was playing DKP in top 16. DKP prior turn went sail, inked only once, not twice, because he had Hypnotic Strength in hand. And then Dave slammed a Niago, right? Most people would be like, whoa, I sailed, I can ink again. Let's just ink it because I can get to 7, right? But having that foresight, well, that's why he's world champ, right? But like having that foresight is so important, right? That one key moment right there could have potentially lost him the game against yellow purple, right?
Yeah, completely. And that and a Hypnotic Strength is such like, that is complete ink bait in that situation. Like 99 out of 100 people are just inking that there.
Well, there's cycle it. I was going to draw a card and
yeah, right. Yeah, right? Just cycle it and then ink what you cycle. That's the line I would take. 2 inks, cycle it into nothing and then ink the card that I drew. Like the complete do nothing line.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, that it's that kind of decision making that, like you say, that choice won the game versus him getting stuck behind an Iago that he couldn't answer, and the deck Dave's playing just completely snowballs from there. So yeah, really good example.
For sure. Is there like any other things that you would do to like grow, like, or like as a player, or just how to like improve after you, or what do you do after you like have a setback or a big loss?
Being able to, a couple of things. First of all, I have tried to separate the like social experience of playing the game versus like the actual tournament experience. So when I go to a DLC, I'm doing 2 things. I'm taking a run at like securing my invitation to Continentals. I'm trying to make a deep run in the DLC. That's full competitive. And I'm also there to hang out with my friends and to catch up with people and to have a good time, go out for dinner, just like stand around joking and stuff like that. It's really important to me, to my mindset, that I separate those things from each other. Like, if the tournament crashes out, the whole weekend is not a bust. Like, it doesn't, like, you still have a huge part of the experience that is completely disconnected from your performance, so that the whole experience of being there remains really positive. That's super important to me, because it means that if I am disappointed in my performance, that's kind of like where it stops. I don't spiral. I don't go back to the hotel and cry. I hang out with my friends. And the other part is like, is I'm good at laughing at myself. Like, I don't take myself
Yeah.
too seriously. Like, I if I'm laughing, I can't be crying. So I'm more than happy to
Right.
like joke about the mistakes I made pretty much right away, and I find that really takes the edge off. But it's that the opportunities to do that come from the fact that like I do really value the social side of the game. Very lucky to have like so many awesome friends through the game, but just getting to talk things through with them. And there's also, there's the element of when you do have a bad performance, you naturally question, oh, am I, it's those same things you always think, am I actually good at this? Have I just been deluding myself? What's going on? You spend time around the people that you like and care about in the game, and very quickly they reinforce in you that no, you are good. It just wasn't your day, and the mistakes might have been completely your own, but just hearing those reassuring words of like it wasn't your day, like if they told you their full feelings, the sentence might be it wasn't your day because your brain didn't work and you made really awful choices. But they simplify it to it wasn't your day, and it's much easier to just accept that. And then a few days later, when you've cooled off, you can maybe revisit some of the gameplay mistakes. But yeah, it's like focusing on the positive aspects of it so that you derail yourself from spiraling too hard. But you still have to revisit if there is anything about your gameplay specifically that can be observed and improved. You should revisit that. Don't just like bury the experience and forget it.
Right, right. Well, yeah, for sure. I think like you said, the best players in this game are the ones that will always analyze their games, whether win
Mm-hmm.
or lose, right? They will always analyze and see what they could have done better. Because like this topic comes up fairly often in coaching. Because like
Mm-hmm.
these people are just like, they're putting in time, they're putting in money, they're putting in so much effort, and they're not getting rewarded for the result, which is winning, right? And I get it. Like it's tough to like put in all this time and effort to not get what you hope for. And it sucks, but at the same time, it's just like it is a TCG, and like there is, like we talked about earlier, there is a lot of luck and variance involved in the game, and that's why I think it's so important to not tie your self-worth to winning,
Completely.
right? Because like I think that's when people start to crash out, is when their identity becomes winning and winning only in this game,
Yep.
and not many of the other things you mentioned earlier, like the experience, your friends. And like one of the videos I'll always send people is like a video of Kobe Bryant, like
Mm-hmm.
that he talks about losing, that he likes losing, because that's where you can get better, right? Like, and then his thing is just like whether you win or lose, you still go through the same routine, right? You analyze, you do see what you can do better to improve, right? And that's like probably one of the biggest lessons, hardest lessons too, for people to have. It's like, yes, it might not have been your day, right? And then after you pass that period of feeling bad, then get back into it, analyze, see what you could have done better, and that just reinforces the habits as they are. We're human.
Yep.
Reinforces your habits in your brain to not make that again the next time you're in that pressure situation. Because I find also is that when you are playing in a higher pressure situation, people start to default back to their old play patterns,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
As opposed to the new ones that they're trying to create. So that's why very easily, like, I think that's one of my theories, at least, apart from fatigue, but people on stream, like good players, I'm just like, why are you doing this? I'm pretty sure you would never do this if in a normal situation, right?
Yeah.
But they make it, right?
Yeah. Completely. Yeah. It happens so much, and it's another thing that I certainly wasn't prepared for it until I experienced it. Like the amount of, you're completely right. You build those fundamentals and you kind of have your baseline. Like if you were on autopilot, this is how you would play. And if you've played many games and won a lot of games, your autopilot is probably pretty good. but it likely doesn't feature your most recent learnings or things that you want to do. And it's why a lot of streamed games are not the best showcase of people's skill. There's a lot of extra stuff going on. Thinking about playing on camera, there's tons of things that could be going through your head. I'm sure some people see things like, you slip up and double ink or something, right? It happened on stream. There's a community witch hunt. People are discussing whether or not you're a cheater. Just being selected for a camera match can make fears of that sort of thing go through your head. Suddenly, your mind is occupied by something other than the game. All of those things can happen, and yeah, there's a massive amount to think about in addition to the fatigue. So, if you have to take like a very deliberate approach to learning so that you can bake the stuff into your autopilot, because I think there will be games where there will be situations, there'll be things going on where you have to default back to just what you understand to be best practice, and that's what deliberate learning does. It kind of helps embed in what you believe to be best practice, and yeah, it has to be a continuous thing because you're constantly improving.
For sure.
So
for sure.
Yeah, that's yeah, I think something that people need to keep in mind is just the conditions to like perfectly show the exact representation of exactly how amazing a player you are like rarely come together. There are all sorts of things going on that could like get in your head, like fear of losing. I've known players who constantly reach 4-0, 5-0 in events and then just tank because their heartbeat is going through the roof when they're thinking, it's happening, I'm going to have my breakthrough. And it's the excitement is like just enough to drive their record into a ditch. There are all these things that over time you have to get good at managing. But if you deliberately learn, practice, analyze, you will at the very least establish in yourself like a good baseline so that when you are distracted, like your decisions are kind of as good as they can be under those conditions.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Like I tell that to my students all the time. It's like you can't control the outcome of the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Literally only thing you can control is the decision that you make with the cards that you drew and were given to you, right? You can't control anything else other than that. So when you go into an event, all you can really focus on is controlling the variables that you can control and playing out your hand as best and perfectly as possible. And the rest is kind of out of your control. So like if you played your best and your opponent just high rolled the heck out of you, like literally nothing you could have done, right? And like you have to hang your head high to know that you are being consistent. And I think like what most people should be striving for is to be as consistent to being with perfect play, as consistent as possible, as opposed to winning. I think if people focus more on that, we're going to have a lot more stronger players and topping the event will be even harder.
Yeah, no, I just realized as you said that I didn't really directly answer the actual question you posed before about like the people with the like going in with that mindset, that absolute desire to win. That is one of the most like you'll see all sorts of things. You'll probably people are exposed to all sorts of like, sports documentaries, everything like you said about the Kobe Bryant clip. There are things out there that will lead you to believe that like absolute relentless desire to win is the best quality you could have. I really don't believe it is. If you hang all your self-worth on winning, I've seen it derail so many more people than I've seen succeed with that mindset. I really think that like you can't attach too much of your self-worth to winning completely. Like you can have it be something that you want to do. It should be because you want to prove to yourself that you're good enough. It shouldn't be because you want to throw it in the face of the world and say to everyone, ha ha ha, haters, look how good I am. I think your motivations have to be like completely internal and just it's you you play this game against an opponent, but in terms of like consistency and tournament runs, like in your performance over time, it's you versus you. Like you're just out to prove to yourself what you know you're capable of. Which is I find that way of thinking. Maybe there are some people out there that can like get super fired up by if somebody puts them down and says like you will never do this, and then they go, oh my god, I'll show you. But generally like the kind of energy that builds in you, I find isn't actually conducive to performing well. and there are other pressures as well. Like there are other formats, other forms that pressure comes in. Little bits of advice I give is like I think that to perform super highly, like the basics of your life should be in order. I don't think I could ever win a tournament while my career was in turmoil or something. Like
Yeah.
I don't want this to ever be like the most important thing in my life, and I feel like if things more important in my life were not in order or going particularly well, I would struggle to have the mindset I need to perform. So I've seen things where people are like they are desperate to break through, and they are spending a lot of their time on a TCG, and even like they spend like their last £500 or something on a ticket to a tournament, and they think, right, I'm good enough to break through, I'm going to win. I don't really have the finances to do it, and suddenly they have to win to pay their rent. That's like the worst thing you can do. You can't create additional pressure where you have to win. Yeah, I really am like a massive. Do you know the hierarchy of needs? Like it's like
Yes.
the Maslow
Yeah.
thing that basically says like you need shelter and food before you can win card game tournaments is a really loose approximation of what it says. But I am a really big believer in that like um right down to like I don't leave chores undone before I leave for a DLC. I don't want to be the way I'm wired. Like I will little things will eat away at me. I've got to clear the slate and go in with a clear head. So any of the additional pressure, whether it's like my own putting pressure on myself to win, whether it's just like other stuff going on in my life, I want to be as serene as possible. Just give me as little to worry about, and then that's when I'm in a good headspace to actually perform.
For sure. I think that's like super overlooked is like your mindset, your mentality going into the event. Cause like you said, if your mindset's in disarray, it's just like chaos. Like you're
Mm,
likely not gonna succeed because it's gonna be hard to just focus. Your mind's just not in the right place to perform at a high level, right? Like you just look,
yeah.
you can even compare it to just whether you're um operating at a high level at work or a high level for any other hobby or a sport or whatever skill, right? Like a lot of that comes down to like, basic things, get enough sleep, be in the right mind space,
Hmm.
eat, don't be starving. You don't make good decisions when you're hungry or tired, right? So like, yeah, definitely like, I think it's super overlooked that people, or for a lot of people that where like, they just don't get their head in the right place. Um, and that could be a difference maker too at events.
Yeah, and I think that's something that I value. Like some people have found my thoughts on that a little weird before. Maybe my thoughts are a little more extreme than some people's. I value that mindset, that being in the right mindset, being in the right like even like you say like tiredness, physiological conditions. If I was ill, I would cancel a trip. If I got a cold, like a bad cold, or I felt like my throat's got super sore and someone I know that I spent time with last week now has the flu. Like I'm not going to a tournament, and I flake on local tournaments frequently because the conditions aren't right for me to think if I'm playing, I want to believe I can win. I don't believe that today it's going to happen because whatever, I barely slept, anything like that. And one of the times it came up recently was the Bologna DLC. My flight got cancelled. I was already at the airport, which is really, really far from my house. They offered me a flight into an alternative city 8 hours later, and then someone said to me, "Yeah, right, take that flight that's 8 hours later to a different city. Then you can get a bus from here and get. At this point, you'll get to Bologna about 4 a.m." And I was like, "Right,
I remember
so
you telling
if I
us all this.
yeah, so the whole plan was laid out that would get me there in time for the tournament, and all I'm thinking is like, this has 5-3 record and minus £1,000 written all over it. Like this is going to cost so much for me to go 5-3 that I will if I travel through the night. Like I am going to just get tantalizingly close to day two and not do it because I'm completely exhausted. So I know that that's probably not like a popular opinion. Lots of people will take every shot they've got, regardless of like if conditions are perfect or not. But I do value like yeah, definitely prioritize putting my effort in when I feel like I have the best chance at performing.
Right. I think there's a lot behind that too, because like, you know how when you're playing a sport or you're playing online, you get locked in, you feel like you're in the zone.
Mm.
And like when you're in the zone online, you're just like, I'm on a 10 game winning streak, right? You feel like no one can beat you, right? That's also when you're feeling that way, you're just making, you're in the right headspace, you're making the most optimal decisions all the time, right? And so like, it sounds like to me, you just want to replicate or be in the zone or to replicate that when you are at the events. You don't want to be like, I just got high rolled by, dogs and then green blue and then blurple back to back to back. I feel like crap right now.
Yeah. I mean, there is an element of like, after you've played so many games as well, you really spot the patterns. Like,
Mm,
over the last 2.5 years, I've played so many games of this and in like different online practice stints and stuff and long ladder grinds and those sorts of things where I have noticed the patterns where it's like, oh, I played 10 games at 2 in the morning and went 3-7, and it's like, okay, right, that's no good. You can't do it when you're tired. Cool. I sat in this room that's my office upstairs because my wife and I had an argument about taking the bins out, and then I lost 4 games in a row because we had an unresolved argument about taking the bins out. And it's kind of
yeah.
so I've noticed like all the various ways that different conditions can make my when you spot those patterns, it's kind of I probably am like more scared than I need to be, but I think it's not like a superstition thing, but I know how I need to feel for things to go good because I've observably done well when I feel that way and observably done worse when I don't feel that way. So it's kind of just like that
No, it's true.
confidence of it's not like today is not it. Um, the thing I don't do that I should do is make choices that lead me to feel that way more often, like exercise, sleep better, don't sit at a desk for really, really long periods of time, like curled over like a prawn. I do all these things and let my health deteriorate. I should take better care of
Right.
myself because observably I've performed better when I've been in that space better as well. But I have not quite got a handle on that yet. I'm still quite lazy.
Well, that's a whole topic for another
Yeah,
day.
that's a different one.
Yeah. But it's true though, right? Like you won't see it because you're normally asleep by then. But in the Discord, I'm streaming my games on the weekend,
Hmm.
and I'll start off the night hot. Like win like 3-0, 4-0, and then it's like 12 a.m., 1 a.m., and then start going 4-1, 4-2, 4-3. I'm like, all right,
Hmm.
it's time to shut it off, right? Because like you're
Yep.
just tired, you're just not making the right decision, you're not sharp anymore, and it's a very real thing.
Yeah, completely. It's one of the things I find so funny about like coverage and stuff as well, which is that the final of like a multi-day tournament should be the pinnacle of competitive expression. And it's like it just never is because even though the players are phenomenal, they've been through a lot to get to that point, and there's always something that you can watch like these DLC final VODs and stuff and think like, what a weird decision. This player got to the final of a DLC. How did that happen? It's
Right.
like because like they have just been through the ringer over 2 days. It's a complete emotional roller coaster. They're completely exhausted. They probably slept on like an Airbnb sofa that they're sharing with like 20 buddies, and it's an awful, awful situation. But yeah, all those things like they do influence your performance so much, and you can see the fall off. It happens all the time. There's so much like I'm on a hot streak, and I think, wow, I feel so good. This is really validating how smart I am. I'll continue to play these games. And then cut to 2 hours later, I've got my head in my hands. I'm like, why do I even try? Why do I play this game? It's
Yep.
yeah. I think stopping when you're ahead is like it's a completely different topic, but like with practice, this was something that came up a lot with that. Something that was unique about my preparation for that EU Continentals that went really well. I stopped testing like a week before. I got a list that was felt tight. It won tons of games, and I just thought if I continue jamming this just for the sake of jamming it, I will only lose confidence in it. And that was 100% the right call. Like, that's like one of the
For
only
sure.
times ever that I stopped playing when I should have, instead of just spiraling to death and then waking
Right.
up the next day and just repeating the
Right.
process.
And you start changing your deck too, last minute, all right? Right
Exactly.
before
You
the
don't
event.
want to do
You're
that.
like,
No.
no, you don't. You start teching random cards to beat this very like 5% line that might happen to
Yep.
you. But like, yeah. But I tell it to my students all the time too. It's just like um the day before the event, if you are on a hot streak, just stop playing. Or
Yep.
just like if you feel good about your deck, just stop playing. I know some people will have another viewpoint of that, but a lot of times
Mm.
just stop because you feel good about the deck and you want to go into the event feeling good rather than going into the event. I just went on a 3 game losing streak
Yeah.
and
I think,
you feel terrible. Yeah.
yeah, completely. If you, even though I've seen the fact that like a lot of this data over time is like meaningless. I could go on a lost streak and turn up and still do very, very well at a tournament. It doesn't make the feeling of that loss of confidence go away. Like, it still always knocks my confidence, and that's really that's not a good thing at all. The about the like knowing when to stop. It's kind of a luxury that's afforded to you once you've played the game for a long time. So if someone was newer and picking up a deck for the first time, I wouldn't say play 5 games of Blurple against bad opponents, win them all, and then stop. Like,
Right.
but it's kind of like when you have thousands of reps with purple steel variants. If you land on a variant you like, you've tuned it a bit, and you go on a hot streak with that. You fundamentally understand how to play purple steel. You have found a build that you like. You don't need to exercise the basic lines. That's when you call it quits. Because I think that's what a lot of people get wrong. They're like, "What do you mean practice less? Like, don't people need to learn it?" It's like, yeah, you do. You build up fundamentals. And really, I'm speaking to people that have played the game for a long time. Is, you don't have to build fundamentals with every single deck. Once you've played it a lot over a period of months, it's about just locking in on that variant, and then you stop. Then you hang that up, because like, I'm not going to find a new way to sing strength on turn 4. Like, I understand how to do that. So I should just down tools and it's done.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the only thing that I encourage people to do, like when they're in that stage of the meta, is like you just explore lines that you haven't tried exploring yet and see
Hmm.
if it works, rather than just jamming your head doing the same thing over and over again because you already know that line works, right? But
Hmm.
if is there a better line, right? That's maybe what they should be doing rather than saying strength 1, 2, 3, 4 strength again.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
and one of the weirdest kind of final bits of advice that I would give to people is, it, actually, I don't know if I can call this advice. I'll just call it an observation, right? The last month of every set, I wish I didn't play it. I would be so much happier if I stopped 1 month before the end of each set every single time, because for at least the way I play and think about the game, my win rates are very high at the beginning of a season because I'm decent at coming up with ideas and configuring new cards and finding where they're best applied. Um, I'm not like the sharpest executor with decks. Like, there are very many people out there that in a vacuum can make consistent good decisions with established decks better than I can. But like, I'm an ideas guy, and I can take an idea to a very functional point quickly. And then when we get to the end of a set cycle, it's literally me with my dumb ideas versus like blurple geniuses, which is like unfair. I'm saying blurple, but you get the point. People know their lines inside and out. They've played it a million times. They are just running back those same things again. I'm trying something wonky, and the win rates just go into the ground. It's terrible. And it's, to me, it's like I learn nothing from any game, and I just can't stop going back. I just keep
You're
at it.
hooked.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, before we wrap this all up, do you have any final like thoughts or words of wisdom or advice for the people?
I saw a tweet this week that made me laugh, but it was very, very true. Um, People, like, Magic is called Magic the Gathering. People always used to say the thing people always used to say is the best part of Magic is the Gathering. And I saw someone tweet the best part of Lorcana is the Gathering, and I thought, haha, that's a funny play on words. But it's completely true. No matter how you perform, nobody can take no performance can take away the fact that it's awesome to hang out with the community of this game, the people that you meet through it, the friends that you have enjoying that game together. The pressure of big tournaments can like feel like it consumes everything, but it's all about the hangouts. And once you have that like breakthrough performance and you feel validated, like don't expect that to go on forever, but like the connections that you form through with people, and the fact that you kind of have a bit more belief in your own, in hindsight, like the thing I should have always been aspiring to achieve is like belief in myself. And that's what the validation gives. It's not about proving anything to anyone else. It's just that now I have confidence in my own card assessment, in my own play, that I didn't have before. That enables me to have better, more meaningful conversations with the people I like. And then as a result, like I have great friendships with smart people. And that's awesome. That's what I love about all of it. So yeah, just everyone has different motivations, of course, but like for me, like nothing, winning is great, but nothing tops the hanging out with people that share your interest and just want to talk about it and want to go get dinner and a couple of beers and laugh about the decks we all hate and everything. And that's what it's all about for me.
For sure. Well, LD, thank you for being on. I really appreciate your time. Do you have any shout outs you like to make?
Yeah, just one. I'm not sure exactly when this will go live, but around the same sort of time, the Articast, that's my podcast, returns from its winter hiatus. We are back to recording, and I'm super happy for that. It's become a big part of my life to do that, and I know that we've been very lucky that we have quite a few people listen. And if you have listened before and want to come back, please do. If you've never listened to us, you can find it over on youtube.com/artabacks.
Awesome. Well, hope everyone enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you all in the next one. Bye.
Bye-bye.